Hey guys, Sean here at the Gardener Center. So if you all remember, a few weeks back I had mentioned that as we got closer and closer to the beginning of our growing season, which is, I'm talking about our post-frost growing season, which is May 15th around here, that as we got closer and closer, I was going to be letting you guys know when it was safe and timely to start putting certain things in the garden. So this week I have my first big drop of plants for you guys. I'm thumbs-upping them, I'm green lighting them, and I'm talking about cold tolerant, cool weather loving herbs and vegetables. I have a whole bunch of new ones right here in front of me, and I'm going to tell you all about them, so stick around. All right guys, so before I start getting into specifics, I just wanted to give you a little bit of info on these new beautiful delicious babies in front of me here. These were all grown by our friends at Marion Gardens out on the North Fork of Long Island. All of these herbs and vegetables are certified USDA organically grown. They have never been touched with chemical fertilizers or pesticides. And these are all plants that you're going to be bringing home and using as food. So why wouldn't you want them to be organic when you have a choice? You're not going to be using any chemical fertilizers or pesticides on them when you bring them home. And it's good to know that they haven't been touched by any of those things before you get them. So, you and your family are going to be eating them. So that's really important. And I think if you have a choice between organic and non-organic, why not go organic? I mean, it just seems like a smart thing to do. So I have two distinct groups here. I have herbs here and I have some veggies here in the back. So all of these guys can be planted now safely. There's one over here that we still got to watch a little bit. I'm going to let you know about that. But all of these guys are good to go. Our temperatures right now have been pretty moderate in the 40s at night. We still have another month to go before we get past that frost date though. So the past week or two, the night temperatures have been unusually warm for this time of year. So don't let that lull you into a false sense of security just yet. It is not time for impatiens or begonias yet, I promise. But these guys are good to go. So I'm going to kind of go along and tell you a little bit about each of them. As a group over here, I have some herbs. So things like oregano. Oregano is a perennial that can go in the garden right now. I have some rosemary here. Rosemary is actually an evergreen shrub, so it actually keeps its leaves all year. That's super hardy. That can definitely be planted now. Sage. Another one here, a semi-evergreen in this climate, but these are super hardy and good to go in the garden or containers right now. Here I have some mint. I'm going to pause on the mint for a little bit because a couple things you should know about mint if you don't already know. If you've ever made the mistake of planting mint in the ground in your garden, you probably already know where I'm going with this. But if you don't have any experience with mint, I'm going to give you a little heads up here. So mint is a perennial, but I would describe mint as a vigorous perennial, if not aggressive. I wouldn't go so far as invasive, but if you plant mint in your garden, in the ground, it's going to be with you till the end of time. These guys, once you plant them in the ground, they will spread in every direction as far as they can. Mint is best used in containers for that reason. It is not something you can tuck into a mixed herb garden in the ground. It will you'll regret that decision. The only time I would change that rule is mint is actually really good if you have a wet area in your yard where you can't seem to get anything to grow and it's a big spot and you can't grow grass there and nothing else grows there. Plant some mint. It'll take over the whole area. It'll be like a totalitarian mint field over there. There won't be anything else there. So it's great for that, but don't plant it where you don't want it. If you're doing mint, and that goes for, this is spearmint, but that also goes for mojito mint and Kentucky kernel mint, any of those mints, best in containers for sure. A kind of a neat thing I was going to tell you about while we're talking about mints over here. One of the ways you can always identify a plant that's in the mint family, whether it be mint that we use for culinary purposes or decoration. Mints have square stems. So most plants, if you take the leaves and roll it around like that in your fingers, it rolls like a straw or a pencil. Mints literally have 4 flat sides. So mint that you eat, mint that you put in your cocktails, mint that you plant in your perennial garden. If you're not sure what it is, check the stems. It's square. It's in the mint family. You at least know that much. Parsley is here. Parsley is another cool season herb that's really ready to go now. Parsley looks a lot like cilantro. I never, ever put them next to each other on the herb bench here at the store because people buy parsley when they want cilantro and cilantro when they want parsley, and then they get all mixed up in the trays together. Parsley is perfectly hardy, also a perennial. Cilantro is often sold as and marketed as a cool season herb at other retailers, and even some of my growers offer it really early with these other herbs. It has not been my experience with cilantro that it's cold tolerant. I like to wait until May to get cilantro in the ground or in a pot outside. You don't have to wait till May 15th, but I like to wait till at least May 1st on the cilantro. Another great one here that loves the cool weather in the spring and not so much the heat of the summer is dill. Now is a great time to get dill in the garden. It's super cold hardy, frost tolerant for sure. Does not like the heat of the summer. When it gets really hot in midsummer, they grow real fast and they get those flowers on them. And then you end up with dill seeds instead of dill foliage. And you know, this is what you want for your grilled salmon. You don't want the dill seeds. They're good for other things, but not for your grilled salmon that you're doing on your grill in the summertime. So this is a good time to grow dill. Here I have some tarragon. This is actually a new kind of tarragon. If you've ever grown French tarragon at home, which is a lovely thing to have in the summertime, but if you've ever grown it, tarragon is a bit of a weak grower. It tends to always seem like it's struggling, but it's this is brand new to us. I have no experience. I actually talked Jamie, our florist manager, into buying some of these already because she's got to try them in her chicken salad and such over the summertime. But this is an Israeli tarragon. And I really like it because this is the first batch of the year, and look at them, they look like little shrubs. So Israeli tarragon, if you'd like tarragon, give this guy a try. And I don't think they're gonna last long this year, so come early for those. So little group of herbs that I have here. Other ones that are good to go right now would be like thyme. I don't have thyme in the store yet, but thyme is another one that's an evergreen that can be planted safely now. So those are our organic herbs that I have right now. Gonna move through some vegetables really quickly here. So over here on my right, I have peas. Peas are good to go now. Important thing to remember about peas, if you haven't grown them before, is they climb. So they need something to climb on. Don't let them ramble on the ground. They get ruined that way. Insects and animals get into them. They don't need like a 6-foot trellis. They don't grow, like a clematis or that vigorously. But, a little teepee, a little pole, a little stake, or if you have a fence in the yard, let them ramble up that. So there's peas here. We have broccoli and cauliflower available. This is broccoli rabe here. I mean, come on now. If you've ever grown broccoli and were disappointed, this is a great place to compromise in the garden. Broccoli rabe, number one, is delicious. And number two, it's a lot easier to grow than broccoli. The broccoli, you have to wait for those big heads to develop, and sometimes you run into problems before it makes it all the way. Broccoli rabe, you just get to pick those delicious tips off and throw them on your sandwiches. That's fantastic. Broccoli rabe doesn't work well in the summertime, so plant that now. Then over here, we have a whole bunch of beautiful kales, frilly leaf kales, and there's cabbages here as well. These guys are definitely ready to go right now. Nice thing about these too, even if you don't have a vegetable garden, I love to use these in mixed spring containers or porch pots. Even with your pansies and your other flowering spring plants, they're really pretty. And you can, if kale's your thing, you can eat those. But I like looking at them more than I like eating them. The last guy over here, and it's a big group right here, is we have is lettuce. So I mentioned lettuce before, way back in January when we were talking about seed starting. So lettuce, I would describe as cool tolerant, but again, it's not gonna tolerate sub-freezing temperatures. So all of these guys that I talked about, we can call those set it and forget it herbs and vegetables right now. You can put those out and not lose sleep over them. The lettuce, lettuce has these really paper thin leaves, and they're really delicate, and they just don't have the cold tolerance of these thick leaf plants that we just talked about. So the lettuce really needs, you need to watch the lettuce if it's going to go below freezing. So lettuce must be monitored. Hopefully we won't get any more nights below freezing, but if we do, if it's in a pot, bring it in. If it's in the bed, cover it up with a sheet or an old pillowcase or something like that, just for the night to keep them protected. Just make sure you take whatever you put on it off before you have your coffee in the morning. All right, so guys, that's just a good preview of what we got in, our first big plant drop. And remember one thing, vegetable gardening is way cheaper than therapy, plus you get tomatoes. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next week.